Hello guys, in this video I'll be taking you through the differences between an Android TV and a Google TV. We are going to be looking at the major differences between both TVs, and I'm also going to be mentioning some important points or differences that might actually affect your decision to either buy an Android TV or a Google TV. So basically, I'll be telling you which is better between an Android TV and a Google TV depending on your usage. Now over here I currently have an Android TV from TCL. This is actually a 32-inch TCL Android TV, and over here on the left hand side I have a Skyworth Google TV. Basically all Google TV regardless of the brand and even Android TV are exactly the same. Now before we proceed, it is important to note that Google TV is simply a successor of the Android TV, but under the hood both types of TV actually run the same operating system, which is the Android operating system. They are also more similar than different. Take for instance, both the Android TV and the Google TV actually have Chromecast, so you can cast your phone to your TV. Both the Android and the Google TV actually comes with the same selection of apps, and also as mentioned before, both the Android and the Google TV actually run under the Android operating system. Now going over to the differences, one of the major differences between an Android and a Google TV is basically the design or UI. Now this is basically how an Android TV looks like, and from over here you can see that from the top you have your favorite applications, and if you scroll down you're going to see specific applications and recommendations based on those specific applications. So you can see that we have Netflix and then recommendations based on Netflix. If you have Prime Video or YouTube app installed on your Android TV, you're also going to get recommendation based on those apps as well. At the top you basically have your home screen and then apps, where you are going to find all of the apps on your Android TV, but the whole UI is a little bit different for a Google TV. Now with a Google TV you can literally see that we have the home screen and then we have the app screen. If you're in countries that actually support live TVs, aside from the home screen and the app screen, you're also going to get the live TV tab, where you are going to find live TVs like the Slim TV, YouTube TV. The Google TV is just going to give you recommendations based on your need using the Google TV AI. Also you're going to get the For You tab, but specifically again this is for regions that allows for live TV. So the For You tab basically uses Google's AI to give you recommendation based on your region, and these recommendations can actually be movies from your installed applications. It can actually be live TVs, but the reason I actually don't have the For You tab and the live TV tab in my own case over here is specifically because live TVs are not supported in my region. Another important difference is the fact that because Google TV is actually a newer version of an Android TV, it is actually easier and smoother to navigate through the Google TV, particularly because it actually fits a little bit light, so you can see how it moves easily. But for an Android TV it might be slower sometimes, and sometimes because most of these TV manufacturers do not usually give the Android operating system a better hardware to run on, it is usually very slow. But with Google TV, because it is currently new and it has been updated, making it a little bit lighter than the Android TV, you may not actually notice all of that. Another key difference between a Google TV and an Android TV is actually how they handle kids profile. Now with a Google TV you can go ahead and add kids profile to a specific user account on your Google TV. So take for instance, if I come over here to my account, go over to the manage account settings over here, I can go ahead and add a kids profile. But for an Android TV you don't actually get that. So if you go over to the account settings of your Android TV from over here, once you select a specific user or user account, you do not have the option to actually create a kids profile under that particular user. That being said, another key difference between a Google TV and an Android TV is the fact that it is way easier for you to be able to install third-party apps from unknown sources on your Android TV, but you don't actually easily do that on a Google TV. In fact, in newer generations of Google TV, it is almost impossible for you to do it, and this is actually one thing that should determine whether you are getting an Android TV or a Google TV. Take for instance, if you go over to the settings of an Android TV and then you come over to the app settings and then just go over to security and restrictions, you can see that we have the unknown sources option, which allows you to be able to enable the unknown sources restriction or disable it for specific applications you want to use to install apps from unknown sources into your Android TV. However, for a Google TV, if you go over to the settings and then just scroll over to the app settings and then to the security and restrictions as well, currently I do have it enabled, but you would not always find it enabled on a Google TV. Now, this does not mean that you cannot install third-party apps from unknown sources on your Google TV. In fact, as you can see, I have enabled it on mine. But if you're getting newer generations of Google TV, like the third generation, you're not going to be able to find the unknown sources option for you to install apps from unknown sources. The process of getting third-party apps into that kind of Google TV can be very, very difficult, though I have a separate tutorial where I showed how you can go ahead and enable this unknown sources restriction, even though it is currently not on the Google TV third generation. The final difference between an Android and a Google TV is actually the fact that for an Android TV, you basically have the Google Play Store app available under the app section of your Google TV. So here you have the Google Play Store. You can go ahead and open it up. However, for a Google TV, you do not have the Google Play Store app directly available to you. You would have to use the voice command to open it up. So if I want to open up the Google Play Store, I can just use the voice command button on my remote control and say open Google Play Store. And as you can see, it is just going to open up the Google Play Store, even though it does not actually have the Google Play Store app on it. Now, having said all of this, keep in mind that Google TV is actually the newer version of Android TVs, and most TV manufacturers are easily just going with the Google TV operating system instead of the Android TV. So over time, the Android TV is just going to get outdated, and nobody knows whether Google is going to, continue to push updates to the Android TV. Also, in recent times, there are actually news that Google is going to push Gemini into the Google TV. So you're going to be getting a newer Google Assistant, which is Gemini, Google's AI, on the Google TV, but definitely that will not be available for the older version, which is actually the Android TV. Finally, if you're confused as to which one to go for, so far one of the major benefits of the Android TV is the fact that you can easily install third-party apps. But for a Google TV, even though it is actually possible, it is way more difficult because you would have to go through all of the process of enabling the unknown sources before you can actually install apps from unknown sources. So if you're looking at getting a TV that will allow you install apps from other sources into the TV, then you can go for an Android TV. However, the Google TV is actually a better option for me because it is smoother, and I generally just feel that Google is going to continue to push updates to the Google TV. And so that will be all on the differences between an Android TV and the Google TV. If you find this video useful, please make sure you smash the like button and subscribe to this YouTube channel, guys.